That's good. That's good. How's everyone doing? Welcome to the stream in this Tuesday evening. And yeah, let's do some Golang together, shall we? I'm going to continue some of the work that I've literally started many months ago. And every now and then there's this one PR I always end up picking back up. And it's to do with card support, right? It's to do with showing up random information in a structured way on Golang. Yeah, Golang. Yeah, it's Golang today, dude. So, first of all, let's get our terminal set up here. So this is one of the things I've been doing quite a lot, actually, recently. I have been very heavy on Windows Terminal. So I'm not sure if you guys use Windows Terminal. Carlos used Windows Terminal. By the way, welcome, Carlos. But yeah, I use WSL and Windows Terminal quite a lot. And I've started really getting into the tiling commands. So just being able to do shit like that all the time. Just being able to resize it, open new tabs and whatnot. It's actually, yeah, he's in Windows Terminal. It's very easy. I don't know why it took me so long to learn how to create tiles. But, Alt-Shift plus will split it vertically. And then Alt-Shift minus will do a horizontal split. And with Alt-Shift selected, you can kind of resize them on the go. With Alt selected, you can kind of change the focus. And yeah, it's been very useful. And I kind of prefer a setup like this. So I can kind of have htop on the top here. And then my actual development directory here where I do stuff. And then on this one, I just mess about, I guess, right? So this is where I actually run the code. If you don't know how to tile, I recommend going out and learning how to do it. But I've just showed you how to do it and make sure you use it. Yeah. Right. So where did we stop with this little work, right? So if I run Docker Compose here, let's just change it a little bit. This should probably be a little bit taller. There you go. Look at second definition of on Google. I know what it means. It means happy as well. But that's not what it means when most people say it, though. I really don't want to get banned for being for maybe being homophobic on YouTube, because I'm not. Just putting it out there. Neither are these guys, by the way. If you're watching this and you're seeing GTX saying things that he shouldn't be saying, he's just taking the piss. And I don't condone that behavior. just to make it clear. Right. So yeah, so we've got everything started here, which means that if I hit everyone equally. Hate is perhaps not the word, dude. So we have products here. There you go. So we have something like that. And what I've actually added is a way to get the card information from the database on the view in a very generic form, right? Anyway, when will you try out Clio and Stream? Let's do it this Friday. Let's try this Friday. I think I've got nothing planned on Friday, so we can try it then. I love everyone equally. Yeah, that's more like it. So, by the way, if you guys are watching this and you haven't done it yet, please like the video. Please comment on the stream because it helps me out quite a lot. Just say hi. And that's it. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done yet. And yeah, enjoy it. So you may notice that all of them are the same except this one here. So this one here is actually being returned or being created from card data. And it's very easy. It turns out that in Golang, so if you have a map from string, I think it is, to interface, this is equivalent to a void star in C++. What does that mean? It means that you can, I want to make Kubernetes cluster scanner in Go. Good choice. Yeah, dude, that sounds very difficult, to be honest. Kubernetes is not something I know well, but I do need to learn it on stream. I do need to do some of it. So yeah, so map string interface is basically the void star, right? So do you guys know what void star is in C? Do you guys know what void star is in C++? It's fine if you don't. It's basically a way to store any information in a map or in a vector or something like that. It just means a raw pointer without a type, right? So this is the equivalent thing in Rust, in Rust in Go, meaning that you can kind of deserialize any JSON structure into something like this, right? So you can have something like that, right? So basically, literally just a map with arbitrary data. So not all values have to be, the same type. And this is basically what we are using to actually cascade or to pass down the information that we get from the database on the cards, because we have like, the card database where the user will put in some JSON and we pass it here. So we will deserialize that and then pass it here and actually be able to render it. Right. Function pointers. Yeah, no, function pointers are different than void star. So, I mean, is Go a good language for that? Yeah, Go is a very good language for doing that, I guess. So anything to do with like back-end development, I guess, and in particular, Docker and Kubernetes, Golang is a pretty good language for that. I'm pretty sure that Kubernetes is written in Golang, right? Yeah, I think Kubernetes is written in Golang as well. So it might, I'm sure there will be really, really nice libraries to kind of integrate with Golang. So yeah. Hello, Anton. How's it going, dude? Welcome to the stream. Guys, don't forget to like it, please. Thank you. I'll continue now. So yeah, I mean, map strings to interface is basically what we're using to deserialize the card information from the database. We're storing just arbitrary JSON into something that Golang can then use, right? So yeah, I mean, this is what I did in the past week or so. I picked this back up. What we don't have yet is a way to actually add a card, given that there is a schema, right? So for every card, I'm not sure, do I have Excalibur somewhere? Let's see. Yeah, there you go. So for every card that we add, so card is actually like one of these things here. This is a card, right? We will have a bunch of fields stored about it. So a bunch of data, right? Because you have to show the data. So this one is the slogan, this one is the title, this one is the excerpt, and this is the button that just shows up. And for, every card is going to be stored in a card table, but we must make sure that we're following a JSON schema, right? So this is the important work that we're probably going to be doing or finishing off today, making sure that we can add a schema. And that schema is simply just another JSON object that we store in a database where it says, what fields can go on a particular card. So every card is going to have a schema attached to it. That's basically it. Is it true that normally you shouldn't store info for an online store or equivalent in a normalized relation database? For every type of item, you have to store unique columns of data. So probably the best option is to store as JSON, just as you were doing here. Yeah, I mean, JSON is a nice way to store, arbitrary information in a database, right? So if you have an SQL database and you don't know what the user is going to be putting into it, then yeah, you kind of have to use JSON there. The reason is because, tables are basically structured. They're a structured, table, right? You have to know the columns. And if you don't know, if you want to allow the user to put in whatever they want, it has to be JSON. So yeah, I mean, it's not a bad choice. Now, going to normalized, you're asking if it's good to store data in a normalized relational database. Yeah, I mean, you should be normalizing things as much as possible, right? So this is kind of what you learn in school. This is what you learn at university. The problem is that normalizing databases tends to create a bunch of queries, right? So for example, if I was doing this properly in a normalized way, schemas here, you can see that it has a card IDs array, right? So just an inline array of card IDs. Ideally, I would have another table, if it was normalized, that would store the relationship between a schema and a card, right? So literally just a database where the primary key would be the collection of a card ID and a schema ID. So that would store the relationship between them, right? So like, in other words, you can answer the question, what card belongs to a schema, right? So you can cross-check if the content is correct. The reason why you might not want to do that all the time is because you have, like, instead of just one query here to get which cards are in a schema, you have to do two. You have to query the relationship table between the schema and the card, and then you also have to query the schema to get the actual schema data. So in very, very large like applications, if you have like millions of accesses a day, which this one is not, by the way, it may be better for you to just do some some, inline data here instead of having like extra tables. It depends. You could use any type of database and relations between tables, but you must think of performance when designing it. Exactly, yeah. It's a question of performance. In our case, it doesn't really matter very much because this is just a blog, right? We're just creating a blog, and we're not going to have like millions of access a day. But I do feel like, not having the extra table makes things a little bit easier for us to work with. That's all. And that's why I'm not going to be normalizing it. But yeah. So let's take a look at so we have this post. I'm assuming that you guys can see the text here, right? And it's fine. So we have this post schema handler, which is actually the endpoint handler in Gin that takes a schema and stores it in a database. So I'm pretty sure I've done all the checking. Let's see. But if you sell beds and computers, let's say, if you were to store them in a normalized database, you would have to store the specifications, even if they would make sense. A bed does not have RAM, so that should RAM. I don't know what that is. So that shouldn't be a column for beds. Yeah, no, that's the point of using JSON instead of a separate table just for beds, right? Because if you were doing it in a properly normalized way, you'd have like a table for a table for beds and a table for whatever. Oh, RAM. Okay. Doesn't have RAM, so that shouldn't be a column. Yeah, I see. Yeah, but then in that case though, if you're designing an e-commerce website, you probably architect your tables in a way that you can store arbitrary information, right? So you have like a column for the title of the product, you have a column for the price of the product, for example, and then you probably have a column for arbitrary shit as well. So like, details or whatever, where you can actually store that JSON containing a bunch of things. In modern production apps, you usually have an additional cache layer, like Redis, for example. Yeah, that makes sense too. I've never used Redis myself though. A document-based DB, in that case, it would make more sense. Yeah, agree. So the point is, am I actually doing all the checks here? So we have JSON, we check that the JSON received in the schema is valid. We check that we unmarshal. We then unmarshal the JSON, right? This is where we check if it's valid or not, and check schema values. Yeah, I think I added this function to check if the schema is actually valid. So I'm using this schema compiler library, the JSON schema library, which is written by this chap here, Captain Lin. I like the name, by the way. If you guys want to do something similar where you are working with JSON schemas, then yeah, try it out. Yeah, I want to kind of test this because I've kind of left it in a limbo. I don't know if it completely works. So if I kind of test it with this, right? So if I get Claude or something, let's just use Claude, I guess. Can I use Claude? Just to generate me a very, very basic JSON schema. Oh, wait, do I have to sign in with Google? Brother, I just leaked all my emails. Don't email me, please. I've got to make sure I cut it from the stream tomorrow. Right. Other way solution with using protobufs with WebSockets would be the easiest. Did you use gRCP before? I'm thinking it could be used as a replacement for WebSockets where you can keep the connection alive and send data. gRPC has their own transfer protocol, right? So if you look at the Google RPC library, does it use WebSockets? I don't know. Although a solution with protobufs will be, I don't know what your solving here did, to be honest. So WebSockets, yeah, WebSockets are useful when you want to keep the connection open. In my case, it's just a REST API request. It could be used for communicating between backend services. You can't use gRPC in web environment. Yeah, that's correct. So I assume it doesn't get implemented with WebSockets, right? You can, but you need to have an additional library, right? I don't know about that, to be honest. I've not used much gRPC before, to be honest with you, so I can't really answer that question. What good evening, Coding with Matt. So he knows my name is Coding with Matt. Can you create a simple JSON schema to hold the following sudo JSON value. Okay. So let's say our card had a title, which is a string length less than 50. Let's say we also had the excerpt, where we have a string and the length is less than 70 maybe. And let's say we also have the slogan, which is a string and the length is less than 20. Right. Okay, good. So this is what AI is really good for, by the way, when you just can't be asked creating a JSON schema. Let me just double check it to make sure. So we require title, excerpt, slogan. That's fine. The schema draft looks okay, I guess. Does it actually make sense to use this one? Yeah. WebSockets are native to browsers. They are, yeah. So it is natural to use them. But would gRPC be better? Let's say I want to keep a TCP connection. I don't see why you want to use a gRPC to keep a connection open. A gRPC is basically just a communication to a backend to run some code and return some data, right? WebSockets, for example, are useful for things like streaming. So if you're streaming like audio data, the connection is open. You can just launch like a buffer of bytes every time and keep that connection alive. gRPCs are, as far as I know, meant to just run a bit of code, and then returning the result. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're streaming data. So we have that, right? We have this. Okay. Now let me think. So what data do we actually take here? So we take this. Okay, yeah. So the JSON schema. We don't want an ID there. Ooh, I'm gonna break a bunch of shit now. We want the title. We want the JSON schema string JSON. Right, so we broke a bunch of stuff. Yeah, like we don't take this anymore. So what do we take? We don't take a JSON ID anymore because we don't really need it. We don't have an ID, to be fair. We take the JSON schema, we take the title. That means we broke all the tests now. RPC stands for remote procedure call, if I'm correct. It does, yeah. You can write your binary or text protocol on top of WebSockets if you need. Yeah, I mean, I don't see it being impossible to use WebSockets to communicate to a backend and then use gRPC to talk between backends. But the thing is, like, why would you do that if you can just send a REST request? Again, I'm not a backend developer, so like it's more of a question to myself as well. So we've got that add card schema. We don't take the ID anymore. Just those two. I'm just going to inline that for now. Oh, actually, let me just add that back. Like, I'm changing the structure that we receive from the user, which means we no longer have this JSON ID, which means I then have to kind of change the migration file for it. I'm not going to do that now. That's why I'm inlining the value there. I think I'm thinking that protobufs are merged with gRPC, but that isn't necessarily the case. gRPC uses protobuf, yeah, for sending data to a backend, as far as I know, right? But they are not the same thing. Protobuf is just a communication protocol. You just send data with it. So instead of JSON, you have protobuf. Protobuf is like an interface. Yeah, protobuf is the interface. It's the interface used to exchange data in gRPC, as far as I know. As far as I remember, from the little I've used it. Right, so JSON ID would no longer have that. We've only got those two, which means that we no longer have to check if JSON ID is valid. So the schema cannot be empty, that's correct. JSON title is just title, I think. Schema is invalid. All right. Alrighty. Yeah, now it's fine. Now we can go into body, right? Oh, I already had an example of this here. So properties, let's say we have schema. No. This is not what I wanted. I want to put this whole thing into another JSON, right? So I want to do this. And what I want to do is put schema here. Oh, schema there. And then I also have a title. My first schema. Now, can I send this to card schemas? Let's check it out. So sending it. Not a marshal JSON request. Right. That's good. Now we can actually see what's going on. So basically, I'm trying to make a request here to add a schema so I can then add cards to it that will follow this schema, and then we display it in this beautiful page here, right? So let's see what's going on. Firstly, I'm going to stop running it through Docker Compose because I'm going to try and debug it manually here. God, it takes so long for my Docker Compose to finish. Like, bro, you literally just spawned a database and two Golang applications. End yourself, please. Right. So now we have admin app. Right. Let's run through this. Does it work still? Does it work? Please tell me it works. Am I gonna have to reload the window? Version of Delve is too old for Go version. Okay, maximum supported. What the fuck? So do I have to to re-download Delve? Okay, maybe I have to upgrade Delve, right? So let's look how to do it. Golang Delve upgrade. So right. Okay, yeah, let's just run that. It's just the Go module, right? Go module. I'm using Docker in an interesting way. I'm installing text live with it so I can compile my latex documentation wherever. Yep, that is a good use for it. It's not an interesting way, dude. That is literally the way you're supposed to use Docker. So you write an environment to do something, a piece of work, and then you can take that Docker image anywhere and do that piece of work anywhere. You're literally using it how it's meant to. So well done. Now, let's figure out if Delve... If I were to send it to you, would you... you would have to download 2 gigabytes of data. That's nothing, to be honest. That is nothing. I have seen Docker images that go up to like 8 gigabytes, man. And it kills me every time I see that. Especially like at work, we've got so many Docker images that we use that have like a bunch of shit on it, which sometimes we don't need. And yeah, try Alpine distro in a Docker. Yeah, try Alpine. Alpine is good. We were sponsored by, well, they're not paying me to say this anymore, but we were sponsored by this company called ChainGuard that provided CVE-free Docker images. And those images were very, very, very lightweight as well. So, you know, Alpine, the Wolfie base images from ChainGuard, that's the ones I'm talking about. They are very, very small. But you have the text live package, and that's the, yeah. So if that's the problem, yeah. I mean, using Alpine or something like ChainGuard is only going to save you the megabytes that you'd get otherwise with the operating system in the Docker file, right? That may only be like 100 megabytes though. If the actual content that you have is the biggest thing, then yeah. Right, let's try and run it. Okay, so that worked. That's great. So let's go on card. Postcard 100. Okay, so admin, we have card schema. And then we are going to put a breakpoint here and then hit this guy. Okay, so let's send it. Right, we are not hitting it for some reason. So the terminal. What? Connection refused. Wait, so we're not actually running the app. What happened there? Oh, right. So could not create error. Access denied for Urchin at localhost. So I have an issue with my config, I guess. So Urchin. Which config am I using actually? So if I... So I'm using workspace Urchin config, which is this one here. If you're watching this and thinking that you're going to try this reCAPTCHA key, don't, because it's already cancelled. It doesn't work. It's just here for an example. So I'm saying that my username is Urchin and the password is Urchin. I'm not sure if that's actually what I have. So if I do sudo mysql, is it root and root? 3306? Is it 3006? No, it's not. Sudo system ctl mariadb start or start mariadb. Unknown user database. Oh, is it still called Go CMS? Oh my god, it's still called Go CMS. Never mind. Yeah, so the database user is root, password is root. And the port is 3306, that's correct. And this is Go CMS. For some reason, it's a very old version of my library. I wish I could be sponsored by Java so I can push Java propaganda everywhere and be paid for it. Because Java's everywhere. I don't think they sponsored anyone, man. Who owns Java nowadays? Is it Oracle? Who actually owns the Java JDK? The Java JDK. Well, let's just look for Java. Yes, Oracle, right? Yeah, Oracle is a very big corporation, man, and they don't need to sponsor anyone. There's the owner or the founder of Oracle is very, very rich, isn't it? What's his name again? Larry something. Gosh, where is it? Oracle. Where's Oracle? There. Larry Ellison. That's the one, yeah. One of the billionaires of the world. It's been on the news recently. I can't remember why. He had like a failed farming business or something. I was reading about it the other day. Very interesting. Maybe I could write him an email asking for money. Maybe, yeah. I mean, maybe you can write in an email asking for a job. He might give it to you, right? These guys love to say, you know, when I was young, all I did was I emailed this person and got a job at HP or something like that. Is it the story of Larry Ellison actually? I think one of them has a story where they literally phoned up HP and started working there as a teenager. Or was it Steve Jobs? So, you know, that's how easy it was back in the day. So maybe if you lived through those times, you would be a millionaire today. Or a billionaire, in fact. But no. So, yeah, let's try that again. I'm pretty sure that I have to run migrations, though. So goose, driver, goose up, yeah. Let's go into migrations. I'm going to run goose up. So 3306. So we have root and root. MySQL. Go CMS. Okay, so we have we've run everything, which is nice. Well, I'm dying. It was a painful 6. Wait. Maybe. What are we talking about now, dude? Maybe I could write him an email. It's still that easy. They contacted me while I'm lying. It was a painful. Yeah, I mean, I know you're lying because it's not that easy. I know it. I know it. I'm also in the industry. Every now and then I have to get a new job because companies go burst or whatever. So it's not been easy since 2 years ago, man. It's been difficult. Right, let's try and run this now. Okay, good. So we are actually serving something, which means that we can finally make that request. And the breakpoint should be hit. There you go. Let's see what's going on, right? So we read everything. The JSON is valid. We can't unmarshal the JSON though, for some reason. Ah, yes, we can't unmarshal it. What is the error? So we have already returned a could not unmarshal JSON into request. Okay, yeah, that's not a very helpful user error, is it? Not a very helpful user error at all. So message, error message. What do we have here? Let's just turn this a little bit better. So we have error message, and if the fmt.error f could not unmarshal JSON into JSON request, right? Or JSON, yeah, JSON request. And then we just put that error. That's how we do it. Of course, this is wrong. It should have been that, and error here. And then in here, we put the error message. msg.error. Okay. Now, cool. Let's recompile this and run it again. There was an error about encoding? Yeah, there was an error about encoding. It's because I'm sure, Anton, you're a Rust guy, or you're a Golang guy, right? So you know that you can use JSON and marshal directly with structures, as long as you have the marshaling macros. I don't know what these things are called here. I guess these are the encoding types. So that's what I'm doing. I'm marshaling this directly into a add card schema request. So that probably means that I'm missing one of these things here, or they don't necessarily match. And that's what we're going to find out after I see the what the error is. Now let's just send it again. So the error isn't nil. What did we get in the... I'm not a Go guy, unfortunately. I'm working with TypeScript, JavaScript, and I know the basics of Rust. Ah, fair enough. I thought you were a Go guy for some reason. So object into that. Schema of type string. Ah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is interesting, right? Because what this is doing, right, it's unmarshaling everything on the schema into that structure.schema variable. But that variable is actually a string. So what we need to do here is basically override the custom or the default marshaller, so it doesn't try to actually unmarshal schema into an object. Right? I want to keep this as is. Now there is a way of doing that. I kind of feel like the best thing for us to do is to get AI to do it for us, but let's just read a little bit about it, because yeah. So custom unmarshaller Golang. This is what we're trying to do, right? So instead of trying to unmarshal schema into an object, which is going to be done automatically, we want to just unmarshal it to a string. That's it. All right, so how is this? So while defining a struct for reading JSON text, we normally define a one-to-one relationship between the JSON field and the struct variable. I start by converting, okay, I just want to get to it, bro. Please, don't give me a whole backstory. Like, bro, where is the customer marshaller? There you go. Dev.2, is he going to let me down? So we should make a struct like this. We have a message string data. Finally, use new decode to decode the raw responses to this. Completed code, right? So what are they doing here? This is still not doing what I want it to do. Custom time implementation. There you go. This is unmarshaled JSON is what we're looking for. So you basically have to provide a specialization of the unmarshal function, unmarshaled JSON that is, on the type. So it takes a byte. Okay. Okay, yeah, let's get Claude to do it, right? So say write a custom Go JSON unmarshaler for the following content into a struct. Okay, so if we had something like this, right? So essentially I'm going to like reproduce what we have, which is we have a title, which is obviously a string. Something. Oh, for fuck's sake. Stop doing it. I didn't finish it. Right, so I have to go, but have a great time. Thank you. I will have a great time. Don't forget to like the video, GTX, please, and thank you very much for joining, man. It was nice seeing you again. As usual, it's always nice seeing you, man. You're probably the biggest fan I have. So we want to unmarshal something like this, right? So if we have a schema, this may be something else, right? This is what we do. But here's the caveat. But make sure that... Why is this giving me... Make sure that the schema value is kept as a string, not an object. That's what we want to do, right? This is exactly what we want to do. Let's see what Claude does to us. So var target map string equals, I guess, yeah. So in your case, it will be something like a map of string to an interface, which is what we talked about at the start of the video. There is this type here called map string to interface, and it can hold anything, right? So if that's, you know, if you mean just deserializing the JSON into anything and into like an anything map, this is the one. But I don't want an anything map. I still want to deserialize the title into a string, and I still want to make sure that I have the schema as a string, right? So let's see what happens here. So I'll create a custom GoJSON marshal that keeps the schema field as a string rather than a marshaling it. So we have that, and then we have the unmarshaled JSON. This is what we kind of want to copy, right? So let's copy that, because this is what's going to be important to us. And if we go into card schema, and here, what we want to do is paste that in there. And instead of content, we have add card schema request. I'm going to change some of these values. So var object map, just to keep it with the consistency of our naming stuff. And let's try and understand it. So create a map to hold the JSON, the raw JSON. That's fine. Extract title as normal. So we extract title as normal, title bytes. So this is literally going into the object map and getting the title. Okay, and then it checks that it's okay. There is no error there. And the title bytes isn't nil. And if that is the case, we get the title, JSON unmarshal. Wait, let's see. So we unmarshal title bytes into what though? Into title. Oh yeah, which is just a string. So c dot JSON title, it would be there, right? Yeah, JSON title is there. Then we have the same thing here. So schema bytes. Ah, okay, yeah. So it's not too difficult, right? It's not too difficult. The key is that you have this unmarshaled JSON thing in here. which means that we should be able to kind of recompile this and run it again. And hopefully things should just work, I believe. Yeah, okay. Okay, let's try. So in that case, let's see if we go past that error now. Okay, yeah, we do. So we do have now the actual request. So the JSON schema itself is the schema content that we're going to be putting into the database. That's why I did it, by the way. This is the context here. I want to put everything on the schema in a database, and this is going to be the schema object. That's all. Add schema. Did it work? There was an error. Of course. Column count doesn't match the value. Yeah, this is just probably because we messed up somewhere. So add schema. Right, let's just put that there and see what. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? The JSON ID doesn't really matter in this case. But let's try it again. Let's try it again. Which is good because if I also go my database, so if I do sudo mysql and then I use go CMS and I select everything from card schemas, card schema, or is it card schemas? Yeah, there you go. So it's empty, right? So we can check if it was properly added in there. So right, let's just do that. Let's just. How many times do we have to send the same request until we fix the whole thing? Okay, so we're going in. Okay, so we have an error. Data too long for column UUID at row 1. What is my UUID in the first place? I think I can kind of guess what this is. So if I change it to here. The problem is that my migration files, right? I probably have the UUID stored as bytes in the database. So I kind of have to convert it to bytes, I think. So vim. If I do add card schema, or what do we have here? So we have, yeah, there you go. It's a byte, right? So what we can do is, insert into card values. So instead of UUID, fmt dot format. Is it sprint or something? Sprint format. Yeah, there you go. That's what I kind of want to do. I want to do UUID to binary, I think it is. And then we put the value of that in there, which would be a string, I guess, right? So UUID. Is that what it is? Is that what string? Yeah. So this UUID to binary function is a SQL function that turns I believe the UUID string to a binary. And we should be fine now, right? I don't know. We'll figure out. It's crazy, like, you implement something in like an hour thinking everything is fine, and then you actually step through it. Do you guys get it? Like, you've implemented this immaculate piece of code, this immaculate like backend handler or endpoint handler, and you feel like, yes, I've done everything correctly, nothing is going to fail. And then you actually like hit the endpoint once and everything just fails, right? You just have to fix everything. And it's just so demotivating. But nonetheless, it's worth it because you get to learn a lot from your failures. And it's not just with backend, by the way. I mean, I kind of get the same in both at work and doing C++ as well. Like, I write like the most simple piece of code I can possibly think of that will solve something, and I think to myself, yeah, this compiles. I can't see anything wrong. And then as soon as I test the code one time, the first time ever, everything just blows up, and it's crazy. Just want to say that if that happens to you, it doesn't really mean that you're bad. You're just a normal developer. Did I rerun this? And if so, can I send it? Right. Still have that though. Data too long for column, UUID. It looks like a rule. If your code works on first run, then you should be suspicious. I'm always suspicious when that happens, actually. If I write code and it works on the first time, because I'm used to it not working every time, I will immediately think that one, my test is shit, like I'm not testing the code in the right way, or there is something deeply suspicious about my code. Yeah. I guess this is going to turn into a short. Yeah, so data too long for column UUID, I wrote one, right? So maybe I'm not doing it right. Let's get Claude to do it. So how to turn a UUID string into a UUID SQL field to insert into a table column. So no, I don't have that. I also don't have that. So let's do it again. So how to insert a UUID, I generated UUID string into a, what do we have here? We have binary 16 into a binary 16 value in SQL to insert into a column. And it just assumes that I'm using Golang, which is kind of nice because we are using Golang, but it is what it is, right? Ah, okay, I need to replace stuff as well. Okay, so MySQL expects to format this, and we don't have that. Okay, so this is what we're missing. That's what we were missing. I was nearly there, to be fair. I was nearly there. So it will be... Where are we? Database, right? We are here. I can do this on Golang as well, I guess. Yeah, if I do this on Golang, if I did the replacement... Nah, sod it. Let's just do it here. So... Values UUID to bin. Insert into this your column values UUID to bin. And then this is what it should be right here. So I guess we can just put it straight into here, right? I'm going to hope that my in-memory database also supports this, because the very interesting thing about this project is that we do have tests that kind of use a in-memory database. So like it is a SQL compatible in-memory database. So I actually start the database in the application address space. So whenever I start the application process, it will also spawn a database next to it, which allows me to do some sort of like mixture between system tests and unit tests, so I can test everything from Golang. But yeah, I mean, that implies that everything that I do on SQL has to be supported on that as well. If you guys are interested in what I'm using, it's like whatever is the implementation of Dol or the backend of Dol, this is what I'm using, is this one here. So GitHub, Dol is the actual production database that uses this in-memory stuff. But where is it? So memory, yeah, there you go. That's the one. Go MySQL Server. So this is like an in-memory database you can spawn within Golang. Yeah, check it out. It's really useful. It's really, really useful if you have an application that you have to test on Golang and you kind of just want to do everything in memory, right? This is amazing. So you don't have to kind of spawn or have a running database service on your machine just to run the tests. I found it very useful. Yeah, so we are going to replace that. Let's see if it's going to work now, though. I kind of feel like we're cooked and it's not going to work again, but we'll try. Okay. Oh no, we still have like data too long for column UUID arrow 1. Using the above, I get that. Let's see if we can debug it here. Using the replace with UUID to bin suggestion above, I get the following error. You know, before we actually put it to the AI to figure out, we can kind of read the error and kind of see what the problem is, right? It just means that the data is too long for the binary. So whatever we're inserting into the binary 16 column is too big. It's just too big. So there is something that's not replacing, or something like a piece of string is not supposed to be there. This error means that the UUID to binary function in MySQL is trying to insert more data than the column can handle. We do know that. Let's troubleshoot the issue. The error data too long for column UUID at row 1 typically happens when your column is defined with size smaller than 16 bytes. It's not. There might be an issue with how the UUID is being formatted before the conversion. First, ensure your column is properly defined as binary 16. It is, right? That's what we have. So this here, binary 16 is a primary key as well. Find the UUID to bin function. There might be an issue with how you're calling the function. Try the following approach. Know that you don't need to manually remove hyphens. UUID to bin function handles standard UUID format with hyphens. So why does it not work? Right, so what do we actually have here? It's because we have replace. God damn it. If we did UUID to bin, so what does the 0 do? When set to 1, it swaps part to make it more suitable for indexing. Let's just do that. Like, what do we actually get? I'm kind of stuck on this now. Sorry guys, I know it's a little bit boring, but we're gonna power through this very, very soon. It's gonna get more interesting. Yeah, if you guys want to ask me any questions, if you want to just chat, let me know. There's 4 people watching now. Welcome to the stream. If you've not joined us before, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. So let's just do an F5. So UUID does have the hyphens in this case. You see? It does have the hyphens. Function go CMS UUID to bin does not exist. What do you mean it does not exist? UUID to bin. It does exist. It's an SQL thing. It's an SQL function. Insert into your table UUID columns values that. What? Function go CMS. Now, the only thing that could be happening here is that MariaDB doesn't support UUID to bin. Can we do that? You have an error. Okay. Those UUID to bin actually work though. Select UUID. So that works. So what if we do UUID to bin? So UUID to bin does not exist. Oh gosh. All right. So if we were to manually do it, just so we can fix this. So I want to just start playing with it now. Copy, put it there. We've got UUID, JSON ID, hello. JSON schema, hello. Hello. JSON title, card IDs is going to be that. Data too long for column UUID. Right. So that clearly doesn't work. UUID to bin. Yeah, and then it says go CMS UUID to bin does not exist. There is no function. Yeah, there is no function. So it seems like there is no function. But I thought this was a common function. Google MariaDB UID and look at the comments on page. MariaDB UUID. I don't understand why we can't use UID as default value without using a trigger. Binary 16. So I guess UUID is not supported there, which is a shame, really. I guess, I mean, we have to kind of do this on Golang then. KBEN UUID data type. Let's see. KBEN UUID data type. What are you seeing? What a shame, though. UUID to bin. MariaDB. So they have a stored procedure here, which is interesting. This implementations of bin to UUID only works for UIDs. Was created using the non-MySQL compatible UID to bin. Was created using the non-MySQL A compatible UID to bin function. Showing us here all the MySQL this. But why this implementation is a bad idea, an example of implementation that matches MySQL set to 0. Okay. Is URL part. Thank you. I think I found it in the end. KBEN UID did type. Yeah, I'll check that out in a second. Let me just read this because I'm actually interested in knowing why they don't support this. Because it seems to be. I thought this was just a widely supported function. The reason why I want to get this work is because it messes up the migrations now for me. Like I already have stored the UUIDs into binaries, so it's supported on the testing database that I mentioned it to you guys. Now, if we don't have this as well, it's more of a problem now. Okay. Create function UUID from bin, UUID to bin. So we have stored procedures. Is that what these are called? Yeah, stored functions to do messy work. Okay. So how do I create this into? How do I turn this into a migration? Because I'm just gonna add this as a migration, to be honest. How to create a goose migration file from the following SQL. Nope, no. It's doing it wrong. Create a Golang goose. What are these files called? .sql. I mean, I could just like put the migrations in here, right? It's just an SQL file in the end and delete the functions as a rollback, but I wanted to do it properly. Is this migrations are regular? No, the migrations are a bunch of files that, yeah, I mean, it's just a file that, what do you call it? A set of files that will set up your database, and this is not a native SQL thing. This is Goose. I use this library called Goose to do the migrations for me. So you can see here, all of the migration steps are sorted in date. So like you run that migration first, and then that on top of that, and then that on top of that, and that on top of that, and so on and so forth, right? You get the gist. So let me try. We have two statements, Goose statement. Goose create? Yeah, add scheme. Okay, so we add UUID stored functions. Okay. This is what we want, and then we want to just basically paste everything in here. And hope that it works. There you go. Hello, GTX. Welcome back, man. I thought you left for the night. Didn't know you're coming back. So now if we do a goose up, right? Okay, it did run actually just fine. I should be able to now have these functions here. So if I do select UUID, select. Now this is the UUID to bin. Yeah. Is this gonna work? It does, yeah, finally. Oh my god, this is the hackiest SQL I've ever written. So like, MariaDB doesn't support UUID to bin, but we got a stored procedure that seems to work. And yeah, and we have it in the migration file, which is important, which means that hopefully, we should also support that on the tests. We're going to find out though. We either broke all the tests here with this stuff, or yeah. That has been an interesting one. Now let's try again. This time I'm kind of confident we'll go past this issue now. There might be another SQL issue, but we will see. Now, why did it not run, dude? Terminal. What? Okay, yeah. I was just scroll down. Right, so if I do F5 here, straight into the database. We still have an error. Data too long for column JSON schema. I wrote 1. Yeah, so it's probably... Ooh. If we take this root and root, go CMS, 3306, I'm going to take it down. And the reason I'm doing that is probably because my migrations file is a little bit... There are some restrictions, that's what I'm trying to say there. So if I look at the card schema table, you see cards is JSON, but the JSON schema is a varchar, right? It should really be JSON in here as well, if I'm honest with you, right? Which means that I can do a goose up now. Things will work. And what data type JSON schema column is? It was a varchar, so it was varchar 50. Obviously, there's a problem because the schema content itself is more than 50 characters long, right? So I just put it as JSON now. JSON is a data type supported by MariaDB, hopefully. At least it hasn't broken yet. So yeah, let's see. Again, let's send it, shoot it off, F5. Please don't break. There's another one. JSON schema. Data too long. Gosh. Why is it too long? JSON schema. JSON schema. JSON. Okay. Why? Is it the scribe? Card schemas? Yeah, there you go. The scribe. So JSON schema is still a varchar though. What? It will not work. Use text data type. Yeah, I know it's not going to work, but it's with JSON it should do. So we now have JSON here. I'm just not sure why we have not changed that, right? So we have goose down 2412. Let's put it down to 2407. 2407. Okay, and then we do a goose up again. JSON schema is still, see, it didn't change it. Why did it not change it? Am I running the right thing here? So how to use goose to roll back the database migrations entirely. So reset is the one. Goose migrations. Reset. So reset seems to be a nice one. Right, failed to run SQL migration. Failed to execute SQL query update. This column excerpt must not be null. Add post excerpt default values. What? What the hell are we doing now? So excerpt the post excerpt default values. Update post set that. Update post set this. Okay, yeah, this is a weird one. This is a bad migration. And I'll tell you what, right? Because posts is where I store all of the posts, right? That you can kind of see on the application. So these are the posts that you can see, right? Well, it's not working now, but it's, yeah, you can guess what I mean. And the excerpt can be null, but then someone, I'm not going to say who, I think it was Al. Al, are you watching us? Someone went and added a migration that sets all of the posts default values to this, but then the rollback was setting them to null, which is a problem. Definitely a problem. Let's change that. Let's change that now. There you go. So we have reset. We don't have that. Okay, that's good. Goose up. Do we have that now? We do, and it's now a long text. There you go. So win. This is a win. Oh gosh. Right. Now, can we please just add it to the database? So we got the card data now. Can we add it to the database finally? Yeah. Can we get heart emojis on the chat? We've just literally been stuck on this for like half an hour. But we've managed to do it now. Party. All right. Yeah, so what's the next problem, right? Because there'll be something else. There will be another problem here. We return ID, okay. So we do return the ID we send, right? So, okay. So now the user gets the ID of the schema that they've added, right? So if I do select everything from card tables, card schemas, in fact, there you go. So we have the JSON here. We have a UUID there, which is binary. And yeah, it's good. It's good. Right, so what's the next step? So we can now add a schema. The cards are still, I mean, we do have properties and blah, blah. The card IDs are empty still, right? Also, what the hell is this messed up display? So it seems like if you've got a long text, your SQL select display just is rubbish, which is interesting. Oh my god, Bitdefender, please stop. Every stream is just terrible. They detect that I'm streaming and then they go in for the plug. Yeah, so we can now add a card schema, right? So let's see if we can add a card to a schema, right? So in that case, what we're going to do is we are going to make sure that first of all, we save this guy somewhere because we don't know what we can't really convert from binary to this. It's because of white spaces. Channel sponsor. We have a channel sponsor here. You can sponsor me if you want, GTX. Once you get that job, dude, you have the money. You can sponsor the channel. But yeah, I'm not sponsored by what's it called? Bitdefender. Unfortunately, I wish I was because they do have a lot of money, and I wish they could pay me to actually talk about them. But so yeah, the only thing remaining now is linking this to the card, right? So we can add a database. Sorry, we can add a schema. Can we add a card? So we have image location. No, yeah, that's something we should have added. Image, right? But we had the title. We have the JSON data here. And then the schema. This has to match this, right? This has to match this. And just to make sure, we have title, we have excerpt, we have slogan, and we have image, which is good. So we did have image actually. So we have title. Do we even have a title of the card? I don't even know. What is it? Describe cards. What do we have here? So we have UUID, image, JSON. Okay, so we don't have a title for it, which is good. But we do have UUID. We don't want that. We want image location. Wait, what? So every card has an image regardless. And this is not part of the schema. Is this right design? I don't know. I think it's okay for now. It would be nice to force every card to have an image regardless, so the user can't go and forget about adding an image to the schema. Yeah, okay. Yeah, JSON data, we can do that here as well. So image, location. Well, in fact, I had that at the start. Let me just undo whatever I had here, because I'm sure it already had an image that makes sense as well. So JSON data, JSON schema. This is what has to match this big boy here. right? And obviously the schema itself of the thing has to match. So we have title, we have excerpt and slogan, title, excerpt, slogan, title, excerpt. Yeah, okay. Ooh. Save 88% or something, right? You see why I set this there in a second. It basically shows up on the saving title. So we have title, excerpt, and schema. Oh no, what was it? Title, excerpt, slogan. Title, excerpt. Let's put the slogan there. Now this is where we put another. What? Like, bro, what? And I completely misspelled excerpt. Excerpt. There you go. There you go. There was one thing left as well, the image, right? Yeah, this is what I mean. So we could have the image here, but I'm kind of like inclined to just leave the image location on the actual table because a card needs an image, right? So without an image, you can't do it. So we have that. Now, if we do send this, we have connection refused. But why? This is the admin app as well. No, yeah, this is not the right one. The port wasn't quite right. It should have been 8081 there. But, right, the point is, if we go on card, and if we put a breakpoint here, and if we add a card now, it still doesn't hit it. Why not? Let's see what we have on the admin though. App.go in admin. We have cards. Okay, right. So it should really be cards. There. Hello, Mr. Incognito. How's it going, dude? Good to see you. Not seen you in a long time, man. Welcome to the stream. Don't forget to like it. And also, you're already subscribed, right? You don't have to subscribe. So we decode it. So at this point, we do have a add card request with all the information, except it didn't work. Like, I don't know why. Why is it all empty? Like, it should have given me a decode error at the very least. Interesting, to say the least. Very interesting. We have title, image. Ah, okay. So the most of again, gosh, time zone. Oh yeah, you're in India, right? Is it India or South America? Which one is it, man? It's either India, South America, or the US. Those are like the time zone extremes for me because I'm in Europe. So like, I'm 3 or 4 hours behind you or ahead of you, depending on where you are. India, right? Yeah, makes sense. I do have a lot of India viewers, which is good. It turns out that Indians love programming, which is very nice. Very, very nice. Oh, I just realized I've got a message here from you, Anton Plugin. Anton Plugin. Dude, I'm gonna start calling you Anton Plugin. It just makes more sense. But Anton Plugin, I saw just a message from Discord. Sorry about that. I only just realized it. Indians programming VBA. They program in everything, dude. They're everywhere, right? They are literally in every single software company that I have worked with before. There's a lot of Indians, so you guys are doing it right. You guys are learning it hard. Okay, so yeah, this is definitely not right. Because, for example, we have image location, JSON data, and JSON schema. So it should really be image location. There is no title. Is there a schema? There is a schema, right? Yeah, JSON schema. So this is what we can change here. Schema and data, image location, schema and data. That's all we need, right? So now on the admin requests, we have image, schema, and data, which is simply going to be coming from there. Right, I've now broke a bunch of shit, of course. Like we have no card on the database, so this kind of has to go. And all of the functions that kind of implement that interface as well. So this one here will go. So UUID image location JSON, JSON schema. Okay, fine. What else did we break? We don't no longer need that. Let's rerun it and see what happens. I will probably too. Yeah, you will, dude. You're getting a new job in VBA, aren't you? VBA and Excel, they go hand in hand. I call it the bottom duo, Excel and VBA. If you're doing that in your job, you're going to be bored in 2 days. That's a joke, by the way. I hope you're not. So I'm going to die. Yeah, I think you will of boredom, unfortunately. So what do we have here? Yeah, we have image, and we have that, and we have that as well. Okay, that is good. So let's go into the function. And we do have an error. What is it? Data too long for UUID. Oh, we have the same problem. We have the same problem. But this is easy because we know what to do now, right? So this is essentially just going to be a change in here. So now we have UUID to bin of that. And there we go. So that should work better now. And one thing I didn't actually see is whether or not the cards table also has some weird text. There you go. So all the JSON stuff is text. Really, that should be JSON, which is going to kind of lead to long text anyway. But yeah. So, right. Round two, let's go. So we go in there, we enter this, bada bing, bada boom, and we got it. We have an ID here as well. We've added a card. Now, you may have noticed that we haven't checked any of the information against the schema, right? So we've just added a card, which is fair. So if I go into my database here and I select everything from cards, I can see that one of them was added, the one I've just created. I'm going to go sleep. Bye, man. Bye, man. Thank you for joining. Don't forget to drop a like. And if you can, dude, comment on my videos. It helps me out quite a lot. So you guys may have noticed that we've added a card, but we haven't checked it against the schema, right? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have to check that the date, well, the only thing we're going to do is check that the schema exists, right? So the schema matches a schema. And two, only two things, not only thing. And second, that once we pull that schema from the database, we can validate the current card data against the schema, which is where we already have a library that does that, a module that does that. So yeah, first things first, let's kind of go into the database. I'm just going to try and do this very quickly, very quickly. So the only thing we need to do is a get card schema, and then we just call the JSON schema, or the name, or in fact the UUID string here, and this will return as a string or an error, right? I am going to kind of copy from get card schema or add card schema. So why are you saving schema ID into cards table? You are validating it. You are validating it once on insert. No. Yeah, I don't know why I'm saving it there. I'm just validating it once on the insert. Yeah, I shouldn't be inserting it. What I should be doing, you are right, is inserting the card ID onto the schema table if the card matches. So that's a very good question, Anton, and thank you, dude. It makes sense. We will fix that as well. So this is get card schema. We are going to go with UUID string here, and this is going to return a string or an error. We don't have to generate that. We are going to select. Now, what are we actually going from here? Is it select from select? Wait, what's the select thing again? Is it select then values or select? Yeah, I guess it's just here, right? So select JSON schema. Let me just describe it. So JSON schema, the long text. So select JSON schema from card schemas where UUID is equals to this, right? Right. Yeah, that's kind of what we got, right? Now we do care about that. So where are we doing? Where are we using where here? So rows, we got the rows and we defer the function. See, actually we should have copied from this, to be honest. Because this does all the tearing down of the database connection properly. When we get something. Get card schema. Let's just paste it here and do that instead, right? So actually the rows is going to stay the same. Select JSON schema from card schemas where UUID is equals to UUID to bin there, and then in here we have UUID. Okay, so I just had to name that. So this stops. Method has no receiver. Syntax unexpected. What? Expected name. Okay, yeah. So it has no receiver there. So what's the receiver for this one? So this is the JSON data. JSON data equals that. Okay. So why do we still have no receiver there though? Unexpected. This top level declaration compile. Why is this defer not working? So for those who don't know, defer is just a way for you to run something if anything goes wrong in this function. Only then. So I'm deferring the bit of code that kind of closes my database rows because it has to be done only if something goes wrong. Or if, at the end of the function anyway, it's not just if something goes wrong. This will happen anyway, but at the very end of the function. Let's come back to this in a second though. Expected declaration found rows. What have I messed up here? What have I messed up here? This is like literally the third time that we get a Bitdefender advert. So I'm really sorry. Rows.next, row scan. We're going to do it into var UUID. And also we're going to do here another thing. So bin to UUID, right? We're gonna select that instead. Var UUID is string. So I'm gonna scan it into my UUID. Now, why is rows next not giving me no declaration statement outside function body? What is wrong with this? Oh yes, come on, post. This is wrong. Does that work? No, it didn't work. Method has no receiver. Go static check. Let's see. I'm not going to use AI for this. Golang defer. So what are they doing here? You have an extra pair of parents in the function keyword in your remind definition. Or do I? Do I have anything like that? No. It seems like I'm fine. Oh gosh. What are we having here? Oh yeah. Is that better now? A UUID redeclared in this block. What? What's going on here? Am I missing like a particular close bracket or something? Why is it redeclared in this block? Oh yeah. ID. Yeah, that makes sense. UUID is already a module, so I can't redeclare it. That makes complete sense. So var string UUID. No, what do we want to call it? So this is actually the JSON schema, right? Not even the UID. And I'm not really sure why I did this anyway. For some reason in my head, I had it as JSON schema is going to be the UUID return, which I don't know why I did that, if I'm honest. JSON schema declared and not used. Yeah. Take that now, bro. And now we are returning the JSON schema, right? Okay. In theory, this should work. Why did we do that? So in here, so there you go. I even wrote a to-do for it. Like, how good am I writing myself a to-do? Sanity checks that everything inside the request makes sense. IE content is JSON. JSON content matches the schema. Yeah, we're going to do all of that right now, right? So first of all, let's put a few comments in here. So check that the schema exists. So at this point, we have this add card schema, which should be database.get card schema, right? If we pass that in there, we should get something. We should get the schema or the JSON schema and the error in there, right? And if of course the error is not nil, we have an issue. We're probably just gonna copy and paste this guy in there. So card schema does not exist. You know, add card. Now what's the error? We don't. Okay. So card schema does not exist. And we put the error in there. That's fine. Is it a bad request? It is still a bad request, right? 409? No, it's not 409. What is it? It's a 400, yeah. How about you, sir? Hello, Slim. How's it going, man? Good to see you, dude. Dude, I swear I should probably start my streams later on in the day because I seem to get more viewers as I go along. We are doing more Golang. More Golang. Now, this is where I would do something like, you know, validate card against schema. And then this is where I would pass the add card request dot content and then the JSON schema. And if I'm honest with you, we're going to do that right now. So we're going to create this function. So validate card against schema. We're gonna do the actual card data here, which is a string, and then we are gonna do the cards schema or the JSON schema, which is also a string. We're gonna return an error. In fact, error. If everything goes well, we're good, right? First thing we need to do is make sure that we parse the schema. So we have the JSON schema or JSON schema. What is it called again? This will be on the other file. There, so JSON schema, new compiler, right? So this is what we're gonna do here. So JSON schema, new compiler. We're basically just gonna copy and paste this, right? This should really be perhaps something that we abstract and share between those two endpoints, if I'm honest. So schema compiler, we do that, and then if error isn't nil, that means we've got something wrong. Yeah, if error isn't nil, let's return the error, I guess. Ooh. Now, I forgot you have an update posts handler, so you may need to start schema ID depending on how you design it. Yeah, the posts are not part of this card stuff though. This is a different like table to the cards. The posts are not going to be checked against it. Oh, I see what you mean. So if I update the schema, then the cards will need to be updated as well. Yeah, that is a good question, to be fair. I have no idea how we're going to do that. No idea. I guess if you provide like an update, let's say you insert a different field in your schema, right? Then you must also provide a default value for everything. This is how I'm going to design it, I think. Because then it will just go over to like all the cards available in the database and then manually insert that default value. But this is a problem for another day, man. We're not worrying about that right now. This is definitely not going to be done today. It gets more like the more you think about it, as if, you know, this is the same thing for any software that you create, right? Any project that you work on. The more you really think about a problem, the more complicated it gets. So my solution to not making it very complicated from the start is just to think of, like, again, that MVP. Like, what is the simplest thing I can do here to actually have this whole feature working? And then once you have the whole thing working, you can start adding on the logic and complexity. But yeah, I really struggle. Like if I'm doing something like this where I'm basically just linking two different values, two different items in two different tables in SQL, right? Which is what the card schema and the JSON schema are. I can think of 100 reasons for it to go wrong, but I really struggle to develop it unless I'm actually trying to just finish the simplest thing, if I'm honest with you. And yeah, as I said, I apply the same logic at work as well. Like if I get given a task, if I've planned something, I try to implement it in the simplest way possible first and then add shit to it. Otherwise, I never finish the initial part though. And more often than not, you find out that you don't even need to implement some of those complexities that you initially thought of. So it's a win-win situation, really. But in your case, you are correct though. If I do update the card schemas, then all the cards will need to be updated as well, right? So yeah. So I have JSON schema there. Hello, Mostlight. How's it going, dude? That's a name I've not seen in a while. Hope you've been doing well, my man. Don't forget to like the video, please. Thank you. So, yeah, I was thinking here, do I, like, if any error occurs when I'm debugging, sorry, when I am compiling the schema, this should really be an internal server error, right? Not a bad request, but yeah, we are going to do that anyway. So if I do log.error msgf, most like hello. Thanks, man. Great to be remembered. It's great to see the gang. Yeah, indeed. It's great to be coding with some of the OG guys in here. You know what? I'm kind of very. I'm very taken back at how some of the people who found the channel just seem to stick on it. I can't thank you guys enough for that. I always thought that whenever I'm coding, I'm just gonna get like random people every time, and no one's really gonna watch this in the long run. But I enjoy chatting with you guys. That's what I want to say. And thank you for sticking around. So at this point, we've compiled it. Now, I need to actually figure out how to run. So JSON schema Golang. This is the library that I'm using for those who are interested. Oh no, it's not. This is not the library I'm using. This is the one. Captain Lin. That's the one I'm using. Because this guy has a much better name and a much more up-to-date library than the previous one, the one that we just looked at. So installation quick start, right? So we create a compiler, we compile it, we create something, and when we validate. Oh. So it seems to me that validate takes a map, that type I mentioned to you guys, it takes a map of string to interface, or basically an internal JSON representation in Golang. So we might have to actually try, doing something here. So if we do schema compiler dot validate, is that right? Oh, we got the new compiler. We compiled it. Wait, what? Schema. Okay, schema dot validate. Oh, it says instance of interface. So I guess it can be a string, right? So we can put in the string here. If we did this, for example, what will that return? And also, what does this return? Evaluation result, right? So it returns a result. If result if it's not valid, we want to log error msgf fail to check card data against schema. Schema. And then we can put the error there. And also return error. I guess what we really have here is an error message, right? Because we're going to put the whole thing. And then we can do log.error msgf error message. There you go, error. Okay, that's much better. We should probably do the same thing here. So error message is the whole thing here. Or what did I just do? Can I delete this? So 0D, 0D? Nope. So error message fmc.error f. Okay, we got that, and then we could return or log that, I guess. Okay. Okay. Right, that does it for me. Let's see if we can at least validate this, because we've got this function here. So really what we want to say is error is equal to that, and if there was an error, oh, I keep forgetting this is not JavaScript or Golang or C++. If the error is a nil, then we can do all of this, right? We've already logged it at this point. In fact, should this not log at all, we can change the error. We can log the error in here, I guess. So we do have error in there. There you go. Just log it in one place, I guess. I noticed something weird lately. STL functions in C++ were not executing on multiple cores when I enabled std execution par. But should they? It depends. Like, there's a bunch of caveats. The best thing you can do, man, is literally to just go on the CPP reference and say you want to read about transform and whether or not you can run that in parallel. Read what the execution policy does to it in there, and you might have a better idea. But off the top of my head, it's not something I can tell you, to be honest. Could not add post? No, this is a card, right? Could not add card. Okay. Now, this should be a little bit better. There's still something that's broken here, and it's the error message that's not used. Wait, what? Can we just return that instead, actually? There you go. Can this compile? That's the problem. Can this run now? Based on how many hardware threads are available, I ended up just starting different threads myself with Lambda. Yeah, if you want to make sure that things are running in parallel, man, and if you don't understand the execution parallel stuff, then just use threads as a simple solution. Problem is, it's much nicer for you to let the standard, the language do the work for you, right? So I would recommend that for sure over doing threads on your own, because you will get things wrong. Threads are very hard to work with. Even experienced programmers like myself get it wrong all the time. In fact, this is like something that might sound crazy, but I don't think there's been a single PR, either at work or on my free time, or by myself, by the way, that I've created, where there is thread work, there's threading work, multiple threads, and there hasn't been a single error in it, or a single problem that was later on discovered as being like a memory issue or a deadlock or something like that. I cannot remember a single PR that I've reviewed with threading work where it wasn't problematic in a way. So, you know, avoid threads at all costs. That's what I'm trying to say. Just avoid it. Just avoid it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Now my program cripples my PC when I start calculating. Yeah, which is good, right? It means it's using the entirety of your compute, which is kind of what you want. Yo, Matt, how many programming languages do you feel confident in? Because I see that you code in at least 4 different languages. At the moment, man, it depends. Like C++ is definitely the top one. So C++ is what I feel most confident in. I can also dabble at the moment quite a bit in Golang. That's probably my second. Actually, that's my third one. My second language is Rust, just because I've worked for like 2 years in Rust recently, and the knowledge is still here. Like I might have to kind of pick it back up in like a week or two, but the syntax is all fresh, and like I remember how to do things in Rust in certain ways. So yeah, those 3 are definitely the ones I'm more confident in. So C++, Rust, and Golang. Now, yeah, let's add Python to that, because I've done Python since, you know, the start of since I was born, basically. The first language ever that I picked up was Python, and I keep doing it every year. That's another one that I'm fairly comfortable in. But then, like, if you take it on the B tier, the languages I know, but I'm not very comfortable in, and I still have to use like Google and like OpenAI to kind of teach me certain things. Those are like JavaScript for sure. JavaScript is one of them. What else? What else? C. Believe it or not, even though C++ is supposed to be a superset of C, I still struggle with certain things in C because there are very, very like slight differences between C and C++, and they catch you the fuck out, basically. So like if you're a good C++ writer, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a good C writer. I can read C very well. I can write it okay, you know what I mean? But I wouldn't go as far as saying that I'm very comfortable in C. I will cripple coding with my C++ questions. You do, yeah, man. You already cripple me without the questions, so. But that's good, man. Keep them coming. I'm using 90% now instead of 30%. Yeah, so threads are good. Like if you have a bit, this is the thing with threads, right? So you can, there is threading work, like multiple threads, where you theoretically are reserving a particular core of your machine. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're reserving the whole core, by the way, just to put it out there. I know about it. And there's also like what everyone loves nowadays, async programming, right? So async programming is essentially, if you think about it, as essentially a glorified thread pool where there is some sort of managing of workers there so you can pause tasks and continue them. That's what a async is, right? And async is not good for when you have like a heavy piece of computation. Say you are calculating Fibonacci numbers in parallel. If you can parallelize that, can you? Yeah, arguably you can. I guess you can. Or if you're kind of working out primes, right? If you're figuring out prime numbers, if you're writing a prime sieve, you can very much parallelize that. That's very computation heavy because you're doing a lot of maths in it every time. Not necessarily complicated maths, but heavy maths regardless. That's not something that's good with async, but it is good with threads because threads is very suitable for when you have very heavy calculations continuously when you don't stop them, right? So that's why you get things like now you're using 90% of your CPU instead of 30%. And it's probably because you've reserved all of your cores for your program and you are actually running the same calculation over and over again. But you may find that if you implement the same algorithm in an async framework, you probably would not even go close to using 30% of your CPU because that shit is going to manage it for you and pause things as they go. And yeah, it's much slower, basically. For me, it's basically just running a function which spawns and destroys the threads itself. So there isn't any memory leak. Yeah, hopefully not. I mean, yeah, if you're not talking between threads, then there shouldn't be any issue, right? But the problem is when you're sharing those results, that's when, you know, when it might come back to bite you. I chose this and need to do n cubed calculations. All right. Yeah, threading is probably going to help you there. So, right, let's actually run this, right? We've yapped way too much now. Let's run this and see what we get. Now let's go into this. Can we compile? Oh, we have nothing in the JSON schema. We have nothing in the JSON schema. What is the error that we get? An expected JSON import. Now the question is, why is this empty? And there is no error here. Why is this empty? So get card schema, given the ID. If error is a no, yeah, let's see what's going on here, because I am very interested now. So get card schema. Okay, we're going to defer that over there. So what? Error is a nil, that's correct. JSON schema here though. What? Ah, I know. This is fucked up. This is something that's fucked up in Golang. I'm gonna let it play for you guys once again so I can explain it to you. Yeah, in Golang you can have these like named return values, basically. So if you see here, the function that's getting the card schema is returning JSON data and error, right? And this is useful for when you have like a defer function that is setting some errors or like joining them together. In this case, I don't actually need that, but I'm doing it anyway. The problem is like the function runs smoothly, right? It gets the data, but in here, I'm returning the JSON schema and nil. What I should be doing is setting the JSON data and error, right? Because it's not actually going to return those values. So if I do JSON data, or in fact, it should just go straight into it. So JSON data and the error there. You can hide the return result as far as I know. It's still going to work. This is like cursed. This is absolutely cursed. Right. Did we get some messages to a lot of things? Clip time. Yes, it was probably clip time. You are correct. You are correct. So missing return. Ooh. Okay. So yeah, maybe I'm talking shit. Maybe you do need the return here. Okay. Let's see if that's a little bit better now. Ah, okay, yeah. No, never mind. I was talking complete shit now. Just ignore that entirely. Let me explain that to you guys again, because I figured out what happens here. So you can have named returns, yeah, and you can just set it and then return the values. They will kind of go into these variables. And the problem is that my defer function, as you can see here, is setting the JSON data to null. So it's always going to be empty, no matter like what I return in here, because return happens, JSON data has some value in there, but then the defer function would also happen and then override the JSON data, which is, yeah. Why is that possible in Golang? Why can't the Golang static analyzer pick it up? I don't know. It's definitely something that's dubious and shouldn't be happening. But yeah. So let's try it again. So you see we return that JSON schema is now a value, which is good. So if we compile it, we did that, yeah. Now there is an error. We didn't fail to check VAD data against schema. Nil. I don't know what the nil is, so we can figure it out. But let me catch some of the comments. By the way, do you guys see the Claude AI's new AI thingy? It's like trying to understand your whole program and can edit the logic, even if it's complex. AI becoming a bit scary, I think. Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's better than the previous ones, right? But they claim that it can solve 70% of GitHub issues for a very high price because it's quite expensive. I think it's like 15 quid for like 1,000 tokens or something. No, it can't be. And, you know, in theory, it's like 30% better than the current like OpenAI models on this magical GitHub issue benchmark, which apparently can solve 70% of them. I don't believe that for a second, though. I still think that if you were to use it on someone's random PR or someone's random project and be like, you know, implement card view support for Urchin, it will not do a good job. I guarantee you that. And if you're not a developer that's actually looking at the files that it's creating, the logic that it's doing, and then like kind of nudging it in the right direction so you can get the behavior that you want, you know, it's not gonna be good. Put it that way. In other words, like I still think you need a developer behind the keyboard to kind of guide it and do something halfway decent, right? Nil for error. Hello. Oh, I forgot to say, dude. It's very nice to see you. Susie Yags. That's the one. Hello. It's been a long time as well. I've seen that name before. It's been a long time that I haven't seen him though. And they got the result by unleashing it onto unsuspecting open source projects. Yeah, I mean it's scary that, you know, people don't realize that it's AI code. Personally, I can always see when someone's using AI to write code. Especially at work. Especially at work. Well, that's a chat for another day. Yes, sir. been here since the start, man. I barely get time to watch his stream since it's late night for me. Yeah, sorry about that, Susie Hags. But I'll tell you what, man, thank you very much for joining, and it's a pleasure, you know, just to have your that message right there. It already makes me happy. I've got some news for the channel as well, guys. So we've got actually videos coming out now. So I've got a couple of videos over to my editor. These ones will be about CI/CD. I've got contacted today about a sponsorship video for some like Python AI GPU thing online. It's not set in stone yet, but we're gonna have a talk. So maybe that's another. Oh, there's another AI video that I'm gonna be releasing as well. So yeah, I mean it's looking busy for this month on the channel, which is good. Shouldn't the last return in get card schema be JSON, data, and nil? Good question, man. Isn't that what we already have, dude? JSON. Oh yes, you are correct, dude. Yeah, I mean it should be nil, but if you think about it, the error is also going to be nil if scan succeeds, right? Which is good. But yeah, Al, that's a really good point, man. See, this is why I love coding with you guys. Especially with Al. Al is always the one who spots my shit code everywhere. Yeah, why was the thing nil? Get card schema, okay. Now, what do we have here? So we have title, slogan, excerpt, and image. On the schema, we have title, which is a type string. We have excerpt, which is a type string maximum length of 50. We have slogan, which is a string with no maximum length, and image. An image. So why does this fail to validate it? Oh, error is nil. That's mad. If result isn't valid, bring string details. Okay, yeah, let's try this, right? So let's try that code to figure out what is wrong. Have to go now. Have a great time. Thank you, man. Have a good evening, and thank you for joining, man. Don't forget to drop that like if you've not done it yet. And you're already subscribed, I'm not going to bother. But for those watching and you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel because it does help me out quite a lot, as usual. So, card schemas. Yeah, we got that. We got this shit. So what did we get? What the hell? I guess we have to put it into a string, right? We have to put it into a string. In fact, let's just JSON Marshall. Yeah, okay. I always drop like that. I know you do. Right. Right, so type failed to check var data against schema. Valid equals false, evaluation, instance location. Type value is string but should be object. What? Value is string but should be okay, so it is, yeah. I mean, it is expecting a... Yeah, this is fine. This validate here is expecting a map of string to interface. So, unlucky, but that's fine. What we can do is JSON to map of string interface Golang. That's what I want to do. That is what I want to do. There you go. these are the 2 lines that I need here. So I'm going to kind of rename this to JSON map, I guess. Our data here and JSON map. Okay. Okay, so JSON map now actually has like the entire valid. Okay, so this is valid. You see, this is valid. Amazing. So that means that the JSON schema exists and the card data is valid, which means we should be able to add it to the database, which is amazing. And yeah, that's kind of the logic. That's nice, right? Now, someone made a question, I think it was Anton, whether or not we have to store the schema in the card. The answer is yes, I think we do, right? The reason is, I am kind of going to use whatever is in the card database on the views. So the view is basically some sort of like temple Golang code that takes the card database data and prints it. The way I currently do it is we will probably pass the card data as a map of interface. Let's take a look at product here. Product has an example. And you can see here, so the card data is just going to be something like this, right? So actually what we're going to send here is a list of these map of string to interfaces. And in this code, I want to make sure that I can do something like this. So I can pass or parse each property into a particular type. And to be absolutely certain that we can do that means that we have to check against the schema kind of every time, which is boring, I know, which is probably not performant, but this is what we're going to do. Don't forget to like and sub, guys. Let's get 10k subs before GTA 6. Yo, Matt is going to get 10k subs before GTA 6 is out. That's going to be very difficult, though. When are they releasing that shit anyway? Is it next year? Is it 2026? Is that when it's meant to be released? I mean, we have to do 7k this year. That's what I'm hearing, right? That's what I'm hearing. But I am wondering, September 2025. Yeah, I mean, I'll be very happy if we can get 10k subs by September, but that means I'll have to be a lot more on it this year, which is debatable, really, given that work is a little bit busier than usual because of, yeah, tech lead reasons, really. But I'm going to try my hardest, right? We can probably make that a goal. We can probably make that a goal. So, yeah, I mean, this is the reason why I probably should store the card UUID in. So the card schema UUID in the card database. I think that's probably why. You're a tech lead now. Yeah, so I recently, well, I guess I am, right? I'm leading a team. Hopefully that's for the long run as well. We'll see. It kind of feels like a trial role at the moment. But, you know, this is the reason why I kind of don't do as much anymore. It's just because, like, sometimes I'm working until 7, 8 just to get something done. That's the thing no one tells you about, though. So, like, you always want to, you know, become a senior developer or a tech lead or something like that. But every time you move up the ladder, you kind of get more and more responsibilities, which means like more and more meetings and more planning. So at the time you're a tech lead, you're expected, right, to kind of read all the user requirements for a particular project and then turn them into tech stuff, which means you're probably going to plan the way it's going to be implemented in a high level. You're going to talk to your team and whatnot. And just organizing everything like all the amount of Jira work that I have to do is just, I wish I could just code all the time. Let's put it that way. Congrats, man. I understand the pressure when you have to take a lot of responsibilities. Yeah, it's all right at the moment. We've only got like one project that's coming down the line, but I kind of feel like it's going to get a lot busier later on in the year when we have like 2 or 3 like big customers wanting some sort of like deadline or product deadline. But yeah, this is the reason why I've not been doing as much on the channel, and I apologize for that. And I'm also, yeah, life is busy at the moment. I'm also getting married soon in a few months' time. I'm sorting all of that out. But hopefully once all of that is out of the way, once I'm used to being a tech lead, once I've sorted out the marriage stuff, we should be a lot more free to do coding content for sure. So yeah. Mine's getting old. Just put it that way. Right. What was I gonna do? The only thing I want to kind of do in this stream before we call it, because I'm getting quite tired now. I think we should also update the IDs for the cards, right? So, like once I've added a card, we also need to update add card schema. No. There is this array of like card IDs I have for a particular schema. So I just kind of have to do the same for the incoming card, right? So I guess it will be in the add card really. So wherever we are adding the card, what we gotta do is we have the schema here already. Ideally, right? This is a to do here. This will probably mean that add card is now gonna have to be a batch. So do we need a batch to add the card first, and then add the card ID to the schema card IDs. So this is going to be a batch operation where we have a rollback, or we roll back, right? This is the kind of shit that we want. Right now, I'm just going to do these operations in a disjoint way. But yeah. Damn, bro. Hopefully you don't forget us after all this. I'm not gonna forget you all of this. This is my baby. This is, YouTube. The YouTube channel is kind of my baby, dude. I'm never gonna forget it. I don't just do it for the content. I kind of like, I just like coding on my free time, and I thought, yeah, I'm doing it in front of a camera. It can't be that difficult, can it? And it turns out it fucking is. It's really, really difficult. Like, I still find it easier to talk to you guys compared to, talking to a bunch of people at work, especially in person, right? So when you're doing like a presentation or something like that at work in front of 5-10 people, I've kind of done that to like 20 people in a crazy project that we've had, a crazy event that we had for the whole company. Like, that is difficult. Like, kudos to whoever can do that kind of shit all the time. But yeah, public speaking is very, very difficult for me. And fortunately, I don't find this as difficult. I can kind of just express myself, read chat. It kind of helps a lot that I can't see your guys' faces and when you're cringing, basically. So I guess this is the difference, in my opinion. So right, so we want to get the card schema IDs, parse it here, and add this card ID to the list of IDs. Okay, this is kind of what we want to do, really. Now, I think I'm actually going to call the stream here, guys. The reason being is because I have to kind of prepare for some stuff tomorrow. both at work and a video. And yeah, I'm kind of very tired. I've started this like over 2 hours ago. I do want to thank everyone who's joined me. We've had an amazing chat. It's nice seeing some of the original faces here, especially Al, Susie, Ags, Lim, those guys. By the way, Mittelas, I forgot to say, welcome to the stream. I know you haven't chatted much, but I hope you've subscribed to the channel and you join us next time as well. Yeah, Anton, thank you all very much for the help throughout the stream if you're still watching, man. And I'm going to stream again on Friday. I'm going to make that commitment. I'll stream again on Friday. I will do, perhaps not Golang this time. I will possibly go back to C++. Try out one of the libraries that we've been looking at. I think GTX actually gave this one to us, this one here. It looked very promising. It's a layout library in C. And it basically fixes everything that's wrong with IMGUI. With IMGUI, like you have to work out sizes and stuff. With this, you literally just have a like a flexbox model done in C for you. So it's really, really good. Okay, man, we'll try to hop in. Thank you, dude. You can try introduction video, examples directory. But yeah, I mean, it looks insane. An example GUI application built with clay. This is cool. What is it? This is like some sort of assembler. Yeah. See, this is the kind of shit you can do out of the box with clay. It just looks amazing. Quite honestly, compared to IMGUI, it looks amazing. But that's what we're going to try on Friday. Thank you all very much for joining. I'm going to call it a stream here. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.